From the Middle is proud to be a founding member of OddPods Media. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode number 274 of From the Middle. We are three middle-class guys living in the middle chapters of our lives and living in the middle of America with a point of view that is somewhere in the middle. We are a comedy and culture podcast. You already knew that. We've done this 274 times, and you have heard all of that stuff before. This week, we're talking about how fall is springing, and that's a mixed up. That's not something that people say, but I just said it just now. Fall has sprung. Basements have been finished and decorated. Kory and Dillon have gone on a trip with their dad to visit Sir Troy. All of that is on the front half. And then in the back half, we talk about raw dogging. It might be what you think. It might not be what you think. It depends on how much you are into current social media trends. And then we also talk a little bit about what we're streaming. We hope you enjoy it. Love you. Bye.
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 Oh, for the love. Sorry, just clearing my Mountain Dew hole.
I got my phone hole cleaned today.
That's where you keep it? You're so cerebral and you're so developed and evolved.
From the Middle after dark over here.
Hey guys, it's good to see you.
Hey.
It's been a minute.
Yeah. 2 weeks for you, sir.
Woo! A lot has gone on in that time, and I can't wait to catch up with you guys. But what's new with y'all first?
Well, new. Hey, it doesn't. The air is colder these days. Got chilly mornings, and it makes me very happy. And leaves are starting to fall a little bit. A few trees are starting to lose things. That also makes me happy. Kids got to go to a pumpkin patch. That made me happy. I didn't go. But they brought me home something. It's fall. It's fall. It's officially spooky Christmas season. and I'm here for it.
I did the ceremonial bringing in of the space heater into my little 10 by 10 office that you're looking at if you're watching on YouTube. Still left the fan in there because in the afternoon it can get warm enough that I still need the fan, but I'm toggling between space heater in the morning, fan in the afternoon. There will eventually come the sad day when the fan completely goes out until next season. Right now we're in the between phase.
That's, it is a funny period to be in. I am currently keeping a sweatshirt in my office because sometimes I need it and sometimes I don't need it. But yeah. Oh, Kory, you live in the home of hold. Don't touch that thermostat yet. Don't touch the thermostat yet.
Yeah.
So I'm glad
Sherry's like, yeah. Sherry keeps it at a balmy 62 degrees or something all winter. And she's like, hey, if you're cold, put more layers on. Yeah, so we're going to see how long we can go without touching the heat.
Yeah.
That's my kind of thermostat control. It doing good to answer your question. I was out of town for a few days. We had a well-intended relative come over and try to help clear out some weeds and stuff, and accidentally took a trimmer to one of the cords that ran to the air conditioner. And fortunately, it was still working. And also, fortunately, our local HVAC/plumber, they do a couple different things, had just sent a text about scheduling maintenance to just check up on the heater. So I text them, sure, let's have you come out. Also, maybe check the wires on the air conditioner outside just to make sure that that's not broken in the spring when we go to use it. So they came out today. Our heater's good. Our tankless water tank thing has been cleaned, and the AC cord has been replaced. That was cut or almost cut. So we're in good shape to make sure our thermostat, all the filters changed, all that stuff. So we're in good shape to make sure we're ready for the cool days, but also because it's high Ohio, it'll get hot again. And we'll have, this is false fall right now. We all think it's fall. and then we'll have like another week and a half of summer heat again, and then it will be actual fall before winter. So we're ready, whether it's false fall or summer again, third summer, second summer. I don't remember which one, but it's going to be one of them soon.
It is crazy. Do you guys remember last year? I remember it snowing flurries while trick or treating on Halloween night. And then it was like, you'd be like outside with a t-shirt on barbecuing for Christmas last year as well. It's crazy.
Yep.
It's crazy out there. There was ice on the windshield this morning when I took my son to the bus. So yeah, things are happening.
Fun stuff.
Well, I have to throw back, if those that remember, I think this episode was in the 80s. I want to say around 88. We had a couple of physician assistants on, one of which was Dillon and I's cousin, Jenna. Well, congratulations, Jenna and Spencer. They just had their first baby.
Oh, yeah.
George David. And I just, for loyal listeners who remember our cousin Jenna, it's her first child, their first child. Super excited for them. Sherry got to be in the delivery room. She was one of two people handpicked to be in there and just be a calming presence for Jenna. And Sherry came back with all kinds of stories. So that's something fun that's happened. Dillon and I got away with our dad for a 2-night little guys trip. And I'm sure we'll get into that later, but we had a really good time visiting a world famous toy store and some fun food spots. Got an Airbnb, so I'm sure we can pick up on that later. And I was away in Seattle last week. Thank you guys for recording in my absence. It was a great episode. Actually, I haven't listened to it, but I promise I will soon. But I'm always saying that I want a family member or friend to join me on a work trip. And Jenna's brother, our cousin Connor, took me up on it. And so for the first time in a long time, I had a buddy on a work trip. And so Connor got to explore Seattle. It was a really fun time. Quick trip, couple nights, came back, and that's when Dillon and I went to our guys' time. During that entire time, Seattle and the guys' trip, the basement was finished. After 4 weeks of Mike Cox of CNC Ceramic and Remodeling working on our basement, it is finally done. Sherry and the kids left it unfurnished with nothing down there yet so that I could take it all in. And then when I got back, I power 3 hours, got the TV hung, all the furniture in there, some artwork that I had made for behind the couch hung, and all I want to do is hang out down there now. It's just so fun. I'm ordering all kinds of cables and Ethernet switches to do all kinds of fun stuff, but yeah, it's a great feeling. And Kendall, I cannot thank you enough again for that recommendation. He hasn't made the official post from his business page, but as soon as he does, I'll be sharing it. For those following along on YouTube, however, I will give you a sneak peek. I'm pulling up messages now. I'm going to share my screen if Dillon will let me. Request has been sent to share. You guys,
it is fun, man. It's like getting a whole new house. You get it's a fun feeling. You just get a whole bunch of new space to do something with. You have recently, you cleared out your garage, so you kind of like gained that space, and then you did the shed thing, and then now you've got this. You just keep adding square footage to your life.
Well, we said we're either going to upgrade our home and buy the upgrades and extra square footage that we want, or we're going to fix our place up, and we decided for the latter. So this is the first room you walk into. You guys seeing my screen? Okay.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is the first room you walk into. This is going to be a multi-purpose game Lego room until the kids move out, when I have dreams of turning it into an old, deep mahogany Irish pub. With like the bar that you like flip up and then walk under and then stand behind, with like a mirror and a TV in the corner and all that. Anyway, so that's that. How do I move through photos and messengers on them?
Are there little arrows at the top left? I don't know.
Yeah, I see little arrows at the top left.
Oh, there we go. Hey. Okay, so there's the big room, sans TV and furniture. Workout room. with a little barn door going to the crawl space under our
so you can
under our
close that
living.
barn door and forget that it exists. That's
Yep,
cool.
exactly. Tiniest bathroom they've ever done. Your knees literally hit the wall while you're sitting on the commode. They've never done a smaller bathroom, but it works. It works. That's looking back from the fitness room back into the main room and the stairs. So let me move down now to the. Gonna find it. Gonna find it. I'm gonna move back down to the finished with the photos of the thing. Okay, here we go. There we go.
Oh, it's wonderful.
Bravo.
So, Buckeye gray, a slightly darker gray carpet that Sherry picked out that's super fuzzy. Bench that was given to us by our neighbors at their garage sale. IKEA plant. And there's the view of all views to enjoy movies and sporting events of all kinds. We're just so excited. So anyway, for those that have been patient as I've talked about this for a month now, thank you. This is your payoff. You get to see the final pictures. But we're just super excited to make memories down there, host a bunch of stuff, have y'all over. Yeah, it's a good feeling. 720 odd square feet of finished space. So not a ton, but enough to prove you right, Kendall. It does feel like it might as well be a ton when we made it work.
Two questions. Where's my room and where's the disco ball? Where are those two things?
So when the treadmill folds up, full-size bed is going to go in there. So that's your room, and whoever stays. Disco ball then can, I don't know, wherever you want, wherever the little dreamer machine happens.
Cool. I'll bring one over.
So thank you guys for tolerating all the stories and pictures. It's done. Now it's time to just enjoy.
Good for you.
I think anytime anyone has that kind of project done, it's just such a nice thing to reflect back on, to have those A/B photos. And then you go back in pictures and look over time when old spaces existed, and then makes you appreciate the new spaces more. So I'm excited for you. I think you'll have tons of fun in that space. Your kids are a perfect age to get to enjoy it with you. And yeah, I think you'll look back and go, what did we do before this was finished? Because it's so awesome.
I think when it comes to, I think a lot of families have a space in their house, probably very typically a basement, where it's gone through phases and stages and iterations as your kids have grown up. And one of the things, maybe this is something that men look forward to more than women. That's certainly true for my wife and I. Like, I remember us having kind of like a makeshift nursery-ish kind of play area in our basement, and all kinds of kid toys and things like that. And then it was like really cool when we put like an air hockey table down there, and we got rid of all of the little kids stuff. And now there's like 3 little Lego tables down there, and things like that. We eventually got rid of like the Thomas the Train, the wooden train track pieces, and things like that. There's a little drum kit down there and stuff. And then now we're talking about like, we're going to want to make this into a space that is a good place to, like, because our kids are just starting to have friends over once in a while, neighborhood kids and that kind of thing. Have a place inside the house where we can just kind of send them where they can go and hang out. And then they're starting to be of an age where that turns into the same kind of place that I would like and want. And so those two worlds start to collide. And now it's like, let's make it a multimedia space. And because that's what I want. Of course, we're going to keep the air hockey table. Like, that's going to be part of it. There's a dartboard on the wall that I haven't used in forever, and the kids know that they're not allowed to touch. And all of that stuff is going to open up. And I feel like with that space, what it represents for me is how more and more excited I get as my kids grow older.
Mm-hmm.
I can relate to them more and better. I can have real conversations with them. They ask like real questions now. And And those kinds of things. Like I can throw a baseball to my kids without worrying about hurting them, and things of that nature, which I love. Like when I thought about fatherhood while my wife was pregnant for the first time, it's like these days that were just starting are the days that I was thinking about. Versus like my wife, who's like, she's constantly like, she can't see a baby without wanting another one.
Yeah.
And, like that kind of thing. I'm like, no, I
this
want this. I don't want this.
Yeah, and while it can be busy and sometimes hectic, it's so beautiful that you're aware that you're entering the phases that you dreamed of, like the deep conversations and the quality time and the stuff like that. And then you'll get to an age where with that same space, you'll want to do what this couple did, sharing my screen again. Now they have a much bigger basement.
Oh, yeah.
They turned it into a wine tasting room. So they made in their interior, they made the exterior of like a cool wine bar.
Yeah.
Weathered it. And that's the inside.
That is crazy.
At some point you have that, why are we paying to go out kind of attitude.
Exactly.
And you're like,
I mean,
you can drink and just stumble right back to your bedroom when you're ready to go to sleep,
Look at that. I mean, come on.
I love it.
For those just listening, it looks like a aged, beautiful, mostly wooden interior of a high-end wine tasting room, but it just so happens to be in their basement. So
I wonder if that was based off of a place that they had been and they wanted to recreate the look of like some wine shop in France or Italy or something. It looked like they went with an Italian theme. I wonder if that was based on like a certain place or if they just designed what they wanted. That's super cool.
Yeah. Dillon, you want to talk about our guide?
I always get excited when I see the home theaters design like a bat cave or like the bridge on Star Trek or like the Millennium Falcon. It's fun. I'm not saying I would do it, but I think it's super cool when other people do it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you've got a massive basement and the money to throw at it, heck yeah. I've seen like people make it look like the interior of a Star Wars ship, and it's like stadium seating with like reclining loungers like in the theaters now. Anyway, speaking of good Italian, we had some good pizza on our guys' trip. But Dillon, anything else that stood out to you from our time?
Yeah, if you've never watched our YouTube stream before, you would probably realize pretty quickly that Kory and I are big kids, and he's got a whole wall of toys behind him that's visible, and I have walls of toys that are to my sides that are not, but they're still there. And so we got to go to Troy's. I don't remember the name. Troy's Toy
Sir Troy's Toy Kingdom in Canton, Ohio, which they say is one of the largest, if not the largest, toy stores east of the Mississippi. Don't know if that's true, but they had a vast selection. Continue.
Yeah, and on top of that, they have 3 locations. So I think it's Medina, Solon, and Canton. But the Canton one is the biggest one. Tons of fun. It really pretty quickly reminded me of why it's so easy to miss Toys R Us from our youth. Just aisle after aisle. I mean, most kids now, if they go to like Target or Walmart, they might have a handful of aisles of toys. This was totally different. And it was tons of fun. Not only do they have current toys, but especially with things like Lego or action figures, they had a lot of older stuff that you could still pick up, and some used Lego sets and things that were built. It was just a ton of fun. It was really cool. It was cool to get to walk into a space that had such a great mixture of things to go look at. And it was certainly a highlight. I mean, our Airbnb was kind of the middle of nowhere, but we knew this would be a fun stop along the way. And I didn't buy a bunch necessarily. It wasn't like that. I got a handful of a few little things, but it's just so cool. It's cool to go poke around and see what's available. And if you're relatively close, whatever that means to you, and you have a chance to go check out, especially the Canton location, go do it, because it's just fun to go walk around and take a look at everything they have. So it's certainly a highlight on top of after the actual quality time together. But it was just a fun little unique thing to go do as part of our excursion.
Kendall, you'd appreciate. We stopped at a pizza place. Dillon, was it called Mike's Pizza? Is that the name
Yeah,
of it?
I think it was Mike's. Yep.
Mike's Pizza connected to a brewery, and they had very unique toppings. Dad and I split the Temple of Shroom that had, wait for it, lemon ricotta on it.
Ooh.
Oh my goodness. You don't think that those two should mix, but boy, oh boy, was it tasty. And then
No,
Dillon,
that sounds
you-
wonderful.
Yeah, you and Jacob split the
Gabagool.
gabagool.
Gabagool. And it was delicious. It had fresh
Gabagool, provolone,
Yeah, it
vinegar
had
peppers.
meat and fresh basil, but it also had like a black hot honey. And I don't know if it was like a balsamic with hot honey or something, but it was really good. It was fantastic pizza. And of course the crust was good, which made it even better. They had lots of good food. We got some meatballs, we got some garlic knots, there was some salad out. So it was a good mix of things. It was a nice shout out to Mike's in Canton. I'm sure if you're from there, you know exactly what it is. So it was delicious.
All right,
Yeah,
Canton,
and-
Ohio.
Yeah.
It sounds like an underrated city. And as far as attractions go, I've heard that like people from Canton, there's a famous song by Reliant K, who are from Canton, Ohio, about needing to get out of Canton, Ohio because there's nothing there. But there's, Sir Troy's Toy Kingdom. There's the Football Hall of Fame. There's probably rubber stuff because I think they're in like rubber country area. I don't know. And Mike's Pizza. So
And Mike. I think that it feels like there's been a real trend of, at least in our part of the Midwest, it feels like there's been a trend that those kind of smallish, bigger than villages, but not tiny towns, not insignificant kind of towns, but somewhere, the 30, 40, 50, 60,000 people type towns people are investing back into those cities. And there's plenty of people moving to large cities, but it also feels like there's lots of investment back into some of those smaller. I know if you're in like if you're East Coast, West Coast, that feels tiny, but and I appreciate that. And I've seen that across a handful of different cities around us, that there really has been some significant investment in things to do and places to eat. And I appreciate that. And so good on Canton.
Interestingly, the thing that Canton is most known for, the Pro Football Hall of Fame, we opted not to attend because, well, frankly, not one of us loves pro football enough to spend the $45 to go walk through. But we did go to Taggart's Ice Cream, a popular haunt for Paul Tagliabue of the NFL when he was commissioner. Is that right? And let's just say that that's right. Sure. But they're famous for a little ice cream concoction that we got that was delicious. So hit up Taggart's Ice Cream if you decide to take us up on our offer to check out Canton.
Good.
So yeah. And then the Airbnb real quick. Let's see. As I'm looking up Paul Tagliabue. The Airbnb, I don't know what this was, Dillon. We couldn't make out if this was like made to be like a retreat center or like a camp of some kind, or maybe housed a cult for a while. But it wasn't one house. It was like 3-4 cottagey like houses on a little fishing pond. So it was the perfect mix of like finished nice space with air conditioning and Wi-Fi, but was settled in the woods on a pond. And so you could explore the woods and fish. They had a boathouse and canoes, a clear kayak that you could paddle around.
That's fun.
The pond on and fish. Caught myself a largemouth bass and a bluegill. Almost sank the clear kayak. That's a whole other story. Filled with water, got my butt wet. But yeah, it was like this perfect mix of those things. So that was actually in Mineral Springs, which is south of Canton. But it was like the perfect spot for like Dad and I, who were a little more into the outdoorsy stuff. And he got his fancy camera out to photograph some wildlife. And Dillon had all the air conditioning and Wi-Fi and comforts of home that he wanted. So it was like the best of both worlds.
Yeah, it felt a little compoundy, but I never felt in danger. And so that's important. That's an important distinction if something feels compoundy.
So, yeah, shout out to our stepmom who found the perfect spot.
Did anybody with like deformed limbs come trying to offer you beverages in the middle of the night?
Not much.
No weird
not-
people, but we did have weird beverages. We've said for a long time on this podcast that we like those novelty pops. So while we were at Sir Troy's Toy Kingdom, which we affectionately started calling like King Billy's Toy Dungeon, we tried. Dillon had dill pickle. This was like Les Fixins or Lex Figgins was the brand. So Dillon had dill pickle. I tried buffalo wing, and Dad tried, what was his? Maple bacon.
Maple bacon. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They were all fine. The worst was mine. The other Dad's you could have sat and drank as like an after dinner aperitif. Dillon's was very dill pickly on the front end and then finished like a Mountain Dew. And mine was garbage from start to finish.
Yeah, it was terrible. If you poured pickle juice in a knockoff Mountain Dew, that's kind of what mine tasted like. And if this is possible, not in the worst way, like it was palatable. It would be fine. It would be fine to drink. The drinks were very fun, and I will say, Kory said that I wanted all my creature comforts, but I asked for Wi-Fi only because I wanted to take my PlayStation Portal to offer up to the other two. And I'll say I only played long enough to show off the Portal, and somebody else who will not be named might have played several full games of college football. So I'm glad I took it. I did not lean on it, but I will say we had several kind of music therapy sessions, and it was helpful for streaming music too. So we just like chilled and listened to music and leaned into that, and it was a ton of fun. So here's the disgusting sodas. If you're not following us on YouTube, you should be, because
Lester's Fixins. That's the brand. Lester's Fixins.
Lester's Fixins. Do they make anything that's supposed to be good or just novel?
Oh no!
Like, are they doing like root beer?
I think this brand mostly novel. The toy store though had like apple pie, pumpkin pie, like flavors that you could see yourself legitimately enjoying.
Some of the other brands that you find in like candy stores and stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were pretty gross, but very smart for the large. It wasn't the Medina location, it was the Canton location. They had a pretty big soda and candy section. Super smart.
Black olive.
Oh no.
Gross. Oh, it looks like Melba's Fixins. I'm going to say this is Lester's wife, Melba. Melba, she makes cherries and cream, key lime pie, apple, but it looks like she makes the more normal stuff. And Lester's the twisted SOB who has black olive.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Okay. I'm done sharing.
Shouldn't be allowed. Anyway. That is available for pranks and challenges.
Yeah.
You know who else is available for pranks and challenges? Our friends in Odd Pods Media, and you're going to hear from them right now. We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Pantsless Aaron.
This is Stevie.
And I'm Augie.
And we are BFYTW, a podcast all about playing games and having fun. Our games are usually based on British panel shows and game shows, but we'll play anything that captures our attention and imagination. Why? It's right there in the title.
You'll never guess what the F stands for.
Well, something I picked up at the toy store. Maybe this pivots to something I've been streaming, but I got myself a sweet Undertaker action figure, eyes rolled back in the back of his head, realistic tattoos. Which reminds me, I watched on the way out to Seattle the long anticipated Mr. McMahon docuseries on Netflix. This is it's very good. I want to say 6 episodes or so. You should know going into it, if you've ever been a fan of WWF or are a fan of WWE today, this documentary was shot before a lot of the allegations came out about Vince McMahon in 24. My impression is that this was originally intended to be not a like a love letter biopic, but certainly a biopic that shows the good and the bad and the ugly of Vince McMahon. But mostly was positive. And so a lot of the wrestlers that are doing the talking heads are saying wonderful things about how he's like a father figure to them, and like he made their whole career and they're so thankful for him. And it definitely highlights some of his humanity, but it doesn't go into the levels that the accusations do. And then the news dropped like 3/4 of the way through them filming this. And so I think the producers had a decision to make. Like, this has kind of been a appreciating Vince McMahon and singing his praises mostly, while still talking about some of the legal things that he's been through over the years, not related to accusations of sexual harassment and trafficking, but like violence on TV and video games, and how much is things like sports entertainment to blame for things like that, and different issues that the WWE has gone through over the years. So anyway, 3/4 of the way through, this news drops. He steps down. Stephanie takes over. And then it's like the documentarians were like, oh, snap. Like, now we have a responsibility to keep telling this story and finish and round this out. But we can't ignore all this stuff, and we definitely want to include it. But all the content they had was of all the wrestlers saying really nice things. And so like they didn't go back to those people. And if they did, those people didn't feel like say anything because it was all still very fresh. So it's a very weird pivot, because you're kind of waiting for them to talk about that, and they kind of never do. So the way the document, it's not giving away any spoilers, but the way that the last episode ends is kind of like, it's up to you to decide, which I don't know how I feel about it. But one thing I did feel as I was watching was mostly the nostalgia. If you just remove the Vince McMahon piece from it, and I know it's called Mr. McMahon, there's so much good footage and storytelling of the wrestlers and the eras that we grew up in, for us three guys. So you had the Attitude Era, and it talked about how racy that got, and a little over the top, a lot over the top. And then they sort of backpedaled and went for the PG rating. But anyway, I really enjoyed watching it. I felt very nostalgic watching it. There's a lot of very interesting interviews with some of your favorite wrestlers. But the whole tricky bit is the whole thing that it's named after. And it's kind of like even the documentarians didn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, that is crazy. I feel like we're living in some moments now where some like really eye-opening things, but at the same time it's like, oh, are we surprised that people who are very powerful will tend to exploit others and that power? And it's almost funny, if it wasn't sad, like with Jeffrey Epstein and P. Diddy, and I think how fast a whole lot of very famous people can just shut up real fast about something. It's like Hollywood doesn't want to talk about P. Diddy.
Yeah.
Powerful people don't want to talk about Jeffrey Epstein.
Yeah.
And, and it sounds like maybe the WWE universe is like, can we just not talk about Vince McMahon anymore? Like, can we just,
that feels very true throughout. The added interesting layer is that Mr. McMahon was his wrestling persona, where Vince McMahon is the real person. And Mr. McMahon was acting out some of the very things that Vince McMahon is being accused of. But there's this weird line of like, oh, that's my character. I'm not cheating on my wife in real life with the female talent. I am in the storyline right in front of her. So then people are like, where does one thing stop and the other begin? And the things he's accused of are the things that Mr. McMahon was doing in front of thousands of people. And you're like, yeah, very interesting.
It's fun to be a fan these days of these people.
A fan of anything.
Anything.
Mhm.
Yeah, anything.
So that was interesting. And then I'll wrap up because I've talked too much, but I don't know how you guys feel about true crime documentaries. But the Into the Fire, The Lost Daughter series, just 2 episodes on Netflix. I'm not even going to get into the premise because it's too complex of a premise, but just wow, just unbelievable, crazy, insane. If you like true crime, check it out. It ends positively-ish. What are you guys watching?
Lots of people are true crime fans, as it's a massive podcast category, and there's tons of documentaries. So, good recommendation. Couple things that I'm watching that I thought you all might be interested in. One is a series, but the series segues into kind of a story and maybe a question. So I just watched Nobody Wants This on Netflix, and Kory, I know you're a fan of. Oh goodness, she's married to Dax Shepard. I just blanked on
Kristen
her.
Bell.
Kristen Bell. Kristen Bell and Adam Brody are the leads in the series. Um, Pretty good. Definitely not for teenagers or kids. So if you're into those people and you want to watch, the premise is Adam Brody is a rabbi and he meets Kristen Bell and they're dating, and that presents challenges because of the nature of his work, because she's not religious and he is. And she actually has a podcast with her sister. So, you can probably figure out pretty quickly some of the challenges that they encounter. What's interesting about it, though, so it's pretty good if you want to go watch it. I think it's something like 10 short episodes. Easy binge. But the reason why I wanted to bring it up is I'm a part of the Netflix Preview Club. And have either of you heard of the Netflix Preview Club?
No.
News to me.
Exactly like what it sounds like. So Netflix had sent a thing a long time ago that was, hey, sometimes we're almost done with projects, but want feedback before we finish. Maybe they're going to do reshoots. Maybe they're going to change editing or tone, or maybe scrap something entirely. And we want people to be able to try to watch things to give us feedback. The reason I brought up this show is this is one of the things that I had previewed before it came out. It was, I think, even untitled at the time. And I probably watched it 6 to 9 months ago. And it was a movie, not 10 episodes. And it was very different than the final product. So there was, the interesting part was, as I was watching things, I was like, yep, remember this whole scene. And then other characters and things, way different than what I watched as part of the preview club.
Fascinating.
It's one of those things that you're like not supposed to talk about until it's out. But this was one that I actually was able to watch and gave feedback on. And it was interesting how much had changed from the movie, because Bree watched it with me, from the movie that we had watched up until this. Have you guys ever done anything like that where you've ever been able to contribute to something in progress, a video game, a TV shows? Like, have you ever been any like preview things like that you've been able to like weigh in on?
Well, I mean, I shared it on here the one time that I went to Donato's headquarters and was a taste tester for a new product.
Yep.
That we had to, it was the same kind of thing. We had to sign a thing that said we weren't going to talk about what we ate. And like, we couldn't take pictures or anything like that. And we tried it and here we are. And I liked it. I liked what they were giving us. And I gave them all the positive, like green light kind of comments on it. Never ended up on Donato's menus. So
yeah,
that was that. It was essentially like what Papa John's is doing with Papadias. It was that, but Donato's version of it. Donato's was leaning into the Tex-Mex idea of that. So essentially making a pizza taco kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
And they didn't have a non. I had tried 2 different Tex-Mex styles of this thing, and that was all they had for those. But anyway,
interesting. Kory?
Yeah, I get to try some products and services from my company. So that's fun. So I get sent little boxes of things, or they say things like, hey, would it be cool with you if we try to have a drone drop off a package in your backyard? But turned out I was too far from a hub. So that stuff's fun. And then I've been a part of some children's books that were in development and acted in the role more of creative consultant, not illustrator, and said, like, wouldn't it be better if you told the story this way? Or it might make more sense if you design the page this way so that this thing is featured and it would help you with the storytelling. And then they're like, great idea. We'll have the artist do that. So I came in late stage, or else I think they would have just hired me for the illustrations. But I like sort of being a part of shaping something that other smart people are working on, and you just get to like react and like have thoughts. So that's really fun.
Yeah, I remember I got it when I worked for Bose. I got to test some products and features and stuff early for a little while, and that was a bunch of fun. So the movie was good. The revised version of the show was better, probably exclusively because of my feedback. So you're welcome if you like the show. Kidding, but it was fun. I mean, I remember going on in detail about the most interesting part of the show is the sort of, it felt like they were having actual discussions about his perspective from being a rabbi versus hers of not having a religious background or whatever. And it wasn't just a contrived, but religion's important, but I don't care. And maybe it'll work, maybe it won't as a couple. Like it felt like they were having actual back and forth. The conversations were benefiting one another in their interactions, and made them both better because they were having real conversations, which I feel like is important in the world right now. So that one's fun. I finally got to Dune Part 2, which is on Max. Yeah. Really good. I felt a lot less like I was thrown into a geopolitical space world without having any idea what was going on. It felt much more like, now that I've seen the first one, this naturally makes more sense. And continues to be a very visually striking movie. Tons of celebrities in this one, just like people I hadn't looked up any or really heard much news about it other than how good it was. So I was caught off guard several times by different actors in different roles. So that was fun. Really enjoyed it. I don't know if they've greenlit more movies, like a part 3, part 4 or whatever, but feels like they've easily got a part 3 set up, if not 3 and 4, with the ending and how it went. So I hope they do that. That was really cool. And I also finally got around to Ghostbusters Frozen Empire. I don't know. I know you guys saw Dune. Did either of you see Ghostbusters?
No.
I heard from Ghostbusters fans that it was not great. So I didn't rush to that one.
Yep. I would say I'd agree. If you're a big Ghostbusters fan, it's fine. Watch it. It's fine. If you've got a lot of other stuff to watch, put that in front of it in the list, and that's okay. But if you're a fan, and I wouldn't say I'm a huge fan, but I'm enough of a fan that I've been in the back of my mind since it came out in March or whatever. I've been thinking, I need to watch that. I need to watch that. So it's popped into my head 8, 10, 12 times since. I'm glad I watched it. Whereas the last one with Paul Rudd, I would definitely go back and watch again. I'm not sure if this one I would definitely go back and watch again, but I am glad I saw it and got to see where they took the characters and story a little further. It probably didn't have as much story development as it was. Here's the people you saw last time. Now they've got a new thing to deal with. A whole lot more didn't develop from there. So good. Enjoyed it. Fine. And it was fun to catch up on a few movies that had been on my backlog.
That's awesome.
So something that has been fun for me, I talked last week about having Sling TV, right? So now I have cable channels, and which is bringing back some experiences from my childhood, and such as TV movies, and not just like made for TV movies, but like movies that are old enough that they're on TBS now. Right, that sort of thing, and it's fun. It's fun to go through. And it's like I watched Twister because it was on. I don't even remember what channel it was on. I just recorded it and was like, I'm going to watch this, and then maybe I can watch Twisters. Even though I had seen Twister before, and so watched that with the kids actually, which was a fun idea. We'll see how next spring goes, but. But I came across Angel Has Fallen from 2019.
Yeah.
Not a great film.
Nope.
It's when the biggest name in your film is Morgan Freeman and he's barely in it. So there's that. It was a fine story. Secret Service agent who gets arrested because he's being framed for an assassination attempt, and high action film. So those parts were cool. Car chases and the whole nine. But I just started watching The Batman because I hadn't yet to see that iteration of Batman, which then I also noticed that I can stream from Sling. I don't even know the channels that these things are originating from to be available on stream, but I get to finally see Joaquin Phoenix as Joker. I haven't done that yet, and so then I can see the new one with Gaga in it, and so. But possibly what I was most excited about is having ESPN channels available to me and watching the Manning cast for Monday Night Football for the first time. I've been so jealous of not being able to watch that for ever since it started, like 3 years ago, 4 years. They've been doing it for a little while now.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun. I watched Manning cast last night.
They have fun on there, don't they?
They sure do. Speaking of Paul Rudd, he was a guest. He spent the second half with him.
Yeah.
But man, I love Manning cast.
I love that your world has opened up to a whole nother section of entertainment.
Well, and for me, TV for me has primarily meant sports. And so I was excited when like some sports programming started to trickle into the streaming platforms, but it hasn't happened en masse yet.
Yeah.
And which has been very disappointing for me. But now that like I've dumped all of the streaming platforms, but I get to, I'm watching the baseball playoffs that the Tigers are in because they're on cable channels and I can watch those. So I'm seeing some sports that I haven't been able to watch for a long time. And that's been good.
Speaking of watching things, I wanted to bring something up to get you guys' thoughts on whether or not you think you could do this. And it's relevant because I'm about to fly for a lot of hours. I'm headed to the Philippines this week. And so I'm going to SFO, San Francisco, and then it's 14 and a half hours from San Francisco to Manila. So I'm behind on Bad Friends, Andrew Santino and Bobby Lee. And Andrew and his buddies were, it's not like a dare. It's like more of like a playful bet between buddies. I guess this is what you do when you're a fairly well-known comedian, quasi-celebrity. They're calling it raw dogging, and they're raw dogging flights. And they're saying, so let's see if you can make it for whatever flight, because they travel a lot. They're touring comedians. Mm-hmm. No entertainment on your phone, no water, no snacks, no sleeping, no books, no visiting with the person next to you. You can say yes or no to the flight attendants, but you can't like sit and visit with your neighbor. Stare straight ahead. And they're paying each other large sums of money to see if they can do this. So Andrew was debating whether or not he was going to try to raw dog a flight from LA to Budapest. So just the London, I think it's London, just the London. Yeah, so LA to London and then London to Budapest. It's like a 15, 17 hour series of flights. And he's like, do you guys think I should do it? And Bobby was like, dude, you can't do this. Like, I'm worried for your health. I don't want you to be tortured in this way. And he's like, I think I want to do it. He's like, how much are you getting paid? And he's like, I honestly can't share. It's an embarrassing amount of money. So could you just react to the concept first? Have you heard of it? Are you familiar? And what's about the longest you think you could raw dog before you're just like, all right, that's it. And you have to eat some peanuts and watch a show.
First
No
thing I want to
food, no
mention
water.
is I don't know. I wish I could be in charge of who gets to name these trends, because I just don't like calling it raw dogging.
Agreed. And I apologize for the younger listeners that have had to hear me say that. I'm sorry. It's just what it's called.
The concept does intrigue me, though. I feel like there's parts of this that like I could easily do, but then but you can't chat even with the person next to you. You have to say no to the in-flight snack. Who does that? Like those sorts of things. Like you can't even have a book. Like I could get away very easily without a neck pillow. I could get away without my phone. Certainly without headphones. But if I have a book or if I have anything to read, I'd be fine. I could absolutely do that. Might even prefer it. I love the idea of not having a carry-on with you. You're just walking fancy free through an airport. That very much appeals to me. That's one of the reasons why I love Southwest, because I can check bags and then just be done with it. But man, I don't think I could do the full-on hardcore raw dog that they're talking about there. I wonder if there's different levels, if there's different things that are acceptable, but still call it raw dogging, such as like what we discussed last week. Can you still be a cable cutter if you have Sling TV? Like, is that still cable cutting?
Yeah, assuming it's guys that are doing this, because I don't think a group of ladies would call this raw dogging. I assume every group of guys makes their own rules. Like some might allow books, some might allow talking to the person next to you, but it's mainly the no phone for entertainment, no food and drink are the big components. Dillon, how do you think you do? What?
I mean, I pretty much go into the bathroom and already do that, right? So I'm just kidding. That would be, it's the kind of thing where like people, how do I want to say this? These kind of challenges don't normally work on me anyways. I don't get bothered by people thinking that I would chicken out or not be willing to do something. So I just wouldn't even really entertain it, other than I don't know what they're betting between them. But you would have to find you would have to come up with what you feel is a comparable dollar amount or reward, and then I would maybe consider it. I would need quite a bit of money for me to actually think about, or something really, really cool experience wise for me to actually consider doing it. I don't think there's anything that anyone would reasonably come up with that would make me do it. I don't know, maybe if you said $1,000 or a couple grand, I would go, all right, I can essentially quasi torture myself for 17 hours.
Mm-hmm.
Like, because it's so stringent. Like, you can't even have like water. Like, if it was at least you can have a singular glass of water, or water. I mean, like, at least something where you're like, I can fidget with something. I can sit and play with a cup of water, but like no in-flight entertainment would literally imply anything. I couldn't even, if twiddling my thumbs is entertainment, I couldn't even do that. So I don't know if I could just sit and stare at a seat for 17 hours and do nothing else. It'd have to really be worth my while.
I think they mean the literal in-flight entertainment, so the monitor in front of you that has games and movies and shows. So I think that's what that means. But yeah, 15 hours, over 15 hours. So I'm not caught up with Bad Friends to know if he did it or not. So I can't wait to get caught up. But yeah, that seems like a struggle bus. I don't know.
I mean, at what dollar amount, if somebody's going, I'll literally Apple Pay you as soon as you land, I'll Apple Pay you X amount.
It's got to have a comma in it.
I think so. Yeah, $500 doesn't even feel worth it for 17 hours.
Not 17 hours. Yeah, that's a high price tag. I mean,
I'd be worried that I'd start to actually lose it a little bit.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, if I could nap, if I could nap and if reading was allowed and in-flight snack was allowed, I could do it. I mean, actually, if those are the parameters on 90-minute, 2-hour flights, I've done it without it being popular, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, you take away even those vices, and it's, I don't know.
All right, Middlers, we're putting it out to you. Could you raw dog a flight? If so, for how long? And what would the dollar amount need to be for it to be worth your while? And what parameters are you toggling on and off to make this happen? That's what I'm really interested in.
Here's another question. Let's go with 15, not 17. Let's say somebody says you can pre-plan several days ahead, not even allowed to go to the bathroom. But it's $50,000 if you can literally not move, not go to the bathroom, just stare at the seat straight in front of you, and don't move your arms. Arms are on the armrest. If at any point you get up to go to the bathroom, gone. Money, all the money's gone. Would you even try that?
Oh, that's a hard yes. Would try.
50,000 is just so much. It's worth it.
50,000, I would easily try it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What if you get up to go to the bathroom, you lose $1,000? Not only do you not get 50, you lose $1,000. Because now you're banking on your ability to not move.
Listen, going to the bathroom ain't going to be a problem for me anyway on a flight. So there's that. I've got that taken care of.
Well, this is fun. I can't wait to hear what people chime in with. Glad we got to catch up, you guys. Anything else before we bounce?
No.
Well, you know what I need to do? Yeah, Merry Christmas, Merry Spooky Holonismus days. I am out of beard oil, and I'm going to head right over to artiusman.com. That's artiusman.com after I log out of this Zoom call and place another order of beard oil because I'm fresh out. So I might even get a variety pack so I can try a few different flavors. And when I do that, I'm going to use the promo code the middle. That's all one word, all caps, the middle in the promo code box at checkout to get 25% off of your order if it's your first order, and subsequent orders will be attached to us, and it helps them and it helps you. You get affiliate marketing. You know how these things work. So do that. Artius Man makes amazing stuff. And we would really appreciate it if you did that. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Comment below your thoughts on anything we've discussed, questions that you have for us, future topics that you'd like for us to discuss. We love hearing from you. We love hanging out with each other. Hopefully you've enjoyed this hangout and that you can't wait for the next one next Wednesday. Bye.